Hi there. Thanks very much for taking an interest in this presentation on the brutal facts around Jesus and the Bible. So a short word on who I am, why I'm presenting, and exactly what I'm presenting. My name's Julius Cardoza. I'm an Englishman by birth and Indian by origin. I'm a bit too tan to be pure English. Born and raised in the UK. Lived there till I went to university and studied actually for 2 years in Italy, 2 years in England, in Turin. I trained in business studies and industrial technology. And then I joined an international bank, HSBC, where I worked for 23 years. I ended up leaving them on my birthday in February 2016. And I'd already trained and certified as a coach, a life coach and a team coach. So I left HSBC and started working as a coach. And around March 2018, I traveled out to Medjugorje in Bosnia-Herzegovina, where there have apparently been apparitions of the Virgin Mary every single day since the 24th of June, 1981. And I went there because my parents had been many years earlier, and because a very good colleague and friend of mine, ex-colleague, who worked with me in HSBC in Madrid, I'd heard that she'd been living out there for some time, ran into her at a dinner party in Madrid, and she invited me out there. Well, the actual first day of that journey to Medjugorje, and bear in mind that at this time I hadn't actually gone to church, except for on Christmas days, maybe some Easter Sundays, since I was 18 while I was living at home with my parents. So I hadn't been at church for 30 years. On that very first day, my life was turned upside down as I had a very, very religious experience. And I'm purposely not going to be talking about that in this video or in the presentation. Why? Because it was a truly incredible event, divine event for me. But when I returned, to my shock and amazement, actually, I found that almost no one, neither friends nor family, believed me. Very few people really listened earnestly to my whole account. You could tell that people switched off as soon as I talked about things that really they just couldn't get their heads around. My encounter with God and with the Virgin Mary in a way. Only my mother, my uncle in Australia, who also had a divine experience, he nearly drowned and was saved. And my son truly believed me. And then, of course, the Catholics, many Catholics who I run into in Spain that are in the Catholic community, of course, they will believe me without problem. But outside of that, and even Catholics in my family haven't really been too interested in what I've said. Not a criticism at all, because I probably would have reacted in exactly the same way. So I'm purposely avoiding the issue of faith. And why this presentation in that case? It's precisely because the issue of faith is something that no human has it in their gift to make someone else believe anything, especially when it's around God. That is a gift, according to my belief, and I heard this from the Pope this summer, of the Holy Spirit. So the fact that people manage to believe or not, it doesn't make them good or bad. Everyone will or will not believe in their time. But I have been challenged on numerous occasions, including by my very best friends, around the truths around the Christian faith, around the Bible, around when it was written, around the authorship, around distortion, around Jesus, whether he even existed, etc., etc. And it's been quite tough for me because it's been very tough having come from a global bank where I had a global head position and was clearly credible, had a lot of people reporting to me, to suddenly at your stage in your life when you're 48 years old, to have something miraculous happen to you and for actually almost no one believe you. If you look at my Facebook posts, if you're friends of mine, if you look at any of my religious posts, they have 0 likes, 1 like, 2 like. And if I put a stupid photo up of something or an article on something completely meaningless, I'll have 70 likes. So it's clear that people feel very uncomfortable with the issue of God. And I had the good fortune to come across the film called The Case of Christ very recently on YouTube or Netflix. And I realized after watching the film, which was truly wonderful, the story of a strong atheist and his wife, who was also an atheist. His wife started, for a reason I won't spoil the film, to believe. or to move towards the believing or the Christian faith. And her husband, who was an investigative reporter, a very talented one, literally went mad and said, "Look, this can't be happening. This is literally my marriage which is at risk." And he was very angry by her move towards the faith. So set out to disprove it by interviewing a number of Christian experts in numerous fields, with the objective of completely disproving the Bible and the claim that Jesus was the Son of God. So the film recounts that journey. And I read the book afterwards and was truly blown away by the number of facts in it. And almost all of them I did not know. Because as a Catholic, I'd been brought up and conditioned to believe. And I did believe without question. And I realized when I was challenged by my good friends that I didn't actually have anything to go back to them with in terms of facts. So this book was a real learning and a revelation for me. As a result, I decided that I needed to put this down in a way that people could absorb, and I need to go out and proclaim the findings in this book, because the story tells of this atheist, this ardent atheist journey as he goes through all of these interviews, trying to dismantle the myth of Jesus as recounted in the gospel. And I'm not going to spoil to you what happens in the story, but I am going to present what is in the book, because this was a series of interviews with renowned experts in numerous fields. And why do I consider this important? I was thinking the other day about the Holocaust. Most of my best friends are Jewish, lifelong friends, really, really lovely people. And when I was about 15, I read about the Holocaust. My dad had a book on Auschwitz on his bookshelf, and I remember reading that book and crying for days. But of course, we don't know how other people find out about the Holocaust, but you'll hardly ever find a Holocaust denier out there. Almost everyone who's reasonable or who is not consumed with hatred for some reason or another accepts that the Holocaust occurred, that 6 million Jews at least were put to death in concentration camps and other means, and wouldn't, I don't think anyone reasonably would deny it. And I think you would be horrified if someone did say, "I'm a Holocaust denier. I don't believe it happened," because the facts are overwhelming. And what facts are those? Well, those facts are the sites themselves. There are still survivors out there. There are still witnesses from that time, Germans, Jews alike, that knew of what was happening. There were the Allied forces that arrived there. There are the writings, the photographs, the film, the records from the different governments involved at the time. There's overwhelming evidence for the Holocaust. How could you possibly deny it, correct? Well, what I didn't realize till reading the book was the overwhelming evidence for Christ and the overwhelming evidence for the Bible. And I think it's really important that people know this, regardless of what they've heard and all the meditating they've done throughout their lives on whether God can exist and all the disasters and disgraces in their lives. I think it's really important that this is considered. Some people say, "Oh, the Catholic Church, the Catholic Church." Catholic Church is comprised of people, humans, mortals. We're imperfect, just like everyone else throughout history. Are there any governments out there today that you consider are free of corruption, free of wrong? Now or in the past? None. So I think that's a weak argument. The issue is not about debating the Catholic Church today. It's about debating whether the events as described in the Gospels truly occurred as described, and whether or not Jesus was the Son of God. And I think it can be, to a very, very strong degree, proved. That's what I aim to do with this presentation for anyone who cares to listen. So today is all about, this presentation is all about the facts and not a call to faith, okay? The world is full of seductions today. And what I realized, one of the first things that I realized when I picked up a Bible after this miraculous conversion of mine in Medjugorje, one of the first parables I came across was the parable of the sower who sowed the seed, and some fell along the path, and some fell into thorny ground, and some fell onto rocky soil, and some fell onto good soil. And I realized with horror that I was the seed that fell on thorny grounds, because the seductions of the world, the luxury lifestyle I lived as a banker, the sophistication of life, all of the wonderful things, the material things we have in the world, I was the one that fell into thorny ground, and my faith, little by little, was strangled, and the seed could never grow in that thorny ground. Others are seduced by lies, because I never stopped believing in God, but I stopped going to church and practicing my faith and never really understood my faith, the dogmas of my faith. But others may start believing, but actually they are the ones that are actually plucked by ravens as they fall alongside the path. The ravens come and take them away. Why? Because whether or not you believe it, Satan, they say, is the prince of lies, and the world is full of lies and untruths about the gospel and Jesus. Okay. And so those seeds never get to flourish. And the reason why I think this presentation is important, therefore, is it's important to have the facts. This set of facts are not going to make anyone believe, right? But the idea of this is to ensure that people are not assailed by the lies, especially if you're young, or your children are young, or they're already in university. Doesn't matter. If they've been brought up in the faith, at least this will give them a solid basis with which to defend against the lies with which they will be assailed out there. Okay, because there are all kinds of stuff. And then let's not even talk about, of course, the New Age philosophies and religions, the mindfulness, the Buddhism, the Reiki, Hinduism. I'm not decrying other faiths, but the fact is that all of them need to be analyzed on hard truths. Okay, what proofs are there for these? There are lots of religions. Everyone has a right to religion, but I think it's important that everyone really researches the basis for their religion. And this presentation will actually touch on a few and explain the difference between Christianity and a few others. But the presentation isn't that disbelievers believe. It's simply that they do not fall prey to lies. Okay. So thanks very much for your attention. I hope you enjoy the presentation, because it was so long, and the first time I recorded it, I think we were over 2 hours. I was over 2 hours presenting, and then people obviously wanted to chat. I've taken the step of creating this YouTube channel and breaking the presentation down into multiple parts, because we lead busy lives, and therefore you can take it in bite-sized chunks of around 20 minutes or so. So hopefully I haven't bored you to death with this introduction. And I will record my testimony in due course. In fact, I've been asked to record it with a YouTube channel. I'm sure there'll be more. I'm going to do that after this is all done and set up with both the English and Spanish versions online. But thanks so much for your attention and your interest. I do hope that you get to see the whole presentation, because I think every single section is important. And one of the reasons I didn't want to break it into parts, because I wanted everyone to see everything in one shot and not have any doubts left in their mind. We all have busy lives. Hopefully you'll get to see all of these parts. They don't need to be in order, but I would suggest that you do look at them in order, just because it's a logical sequence of reasoning that the author himself, Lee Strobel, went through. You can buy the book, The Case of Christ, of course, but the idea of this is that you get to absorb all of it in maybe a more impactful way in a much shorter amount of time. In any case, enjoy, put a lot of work into this. I'm clearly biased. I am a strong believer, and there's literally nothing I will not do to defend my faith, because Jesus loves you deeply, whether or not you realize it yet. And it's important that you come to him and realize that he is there for you through all your trials and travails in life. Anyway, enjoy. Thanks so much for your attention.